sé que me extrañas cada día. Si perdió el amor, lo siento, fue mala mía. Si fuera un cuento de fantasía, te llevaría a un paraíso y te besaría, pero look at me, why didn't talk.
Hello and welcome yet again to another episode here at the Cardboard Cave podcast. And like always, we do our top 3 cards of the upcoming set Final Fantasy. These top 3 will be including Commander and as well from the main set. And always pay attention that one of our videos, we will be focusing on the value and as well the out-of-the-box playability of the Commander decks that will be available in your nearest local game store for the upcoming pre-release and the release of the Final Fantasy set. But no further ado, if you're from Puerto Rico, just, hey, pass by to either Caguas or Rio Piedras. Say hello to our main sponsor, Titan Games. We're still working on them to see we're going to have product like that you guys can enjoy the content. Let it be an unboxing or playing at least 2 of the Commander decks that will be available in the local game store when upcoming release comes. So just check them out. All of the information is down below in the description. And just go ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our video, comment below your thoughts on this Final Fantasy set. And as well, don't forget to hit that notification bell like that. You guys can go ahead and be notified when new videos are coming. So nothing, guys, let's go ahead and bring in our host of the show. Let's go ahead and bring first our favorite director, the one and only Ale.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How are you doing, Ale?
I am going through a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards because this is a Cardboard Cave podcast. We talk about cardboard, all types of cardboard. So
that is completely true.
And there's a Pokemon card here, so
yeah, I have Pokemon cards as well. Wait.
There you go. We dabble into cardboard. Yes,
we dabble in the cardboard. That's true. I have Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, you name it, I have it. Let's go ahead and bring in the master of the dark arts and as well our master of the cube, the one and only JP.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, JP? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Orengo's looking extra poofy today. That's scruffy.
Extra what?
Extra scruffy.
Oh yes, I am. It's the humidity. I swear.
It's the humidity.
It ruined everything. My hair is a mess. Everything's a mess.
Oh God, I went like a couple of days ago to my barber, and he was like, "Man, you have to stop coming here every twice. Not you should come here more often, and not twice every 2 months, because Jesus." But it was I have a lot of activities this week and this weekend as well, so that's why we had to go to the barber. So nothing, guys. So today guys we're going to be talking about our favorite 3 cards of the set. Let it be if it's from the Commander portion of Final Fantasy or the main set. Like always, we do have our honorable mentions and as well let me make sure that I have Orengo's honorable mention. I think it's this one. Okay. Probably. I don't know. But in all, we're going to go ahead and talk about our top 3 cards. And then from that, we're going to give like our full thoughts on the Final Fantasy set. Don't forget, for all of our viewers and or listeners, Titan Games will have their pre-release, so pass by their social media like that you guys can know the time and how many spots are available in either of their 2 stores, let it be Rio Piedras or Caguas. So check their social media, just hit the pause button or just go ahead, keep us in the background and look for Titan Games in their social media that they can reserve your spot. So guys, let's go ahead. I don't know. Let's go ahead and start with JP. JP, what are your top 3 cards? And if you have an honorable mention, go ahead and tell us what you got.
Well, my honorable mention is one of the Sephiroths, one of the many Sephiroths in the set. Sephiroth, Fallen Hero. He's 3 red, white for a 7/5. When he attacks, you put a cell counter on target creature. Until end of turn, each modified creature you control has base power and toughness 7/5. And you can pay 3, sacrifice a modified creature, and return this card to the battlefield tapped. So you sacrifice anything that has an equipment on it and bring it back. It's red-white. It's very interesting with like something like Cold the Forge Master, because if anything's equipped, it is modified. And Cold the Forge Master says whenever an equipped creature dies, you return it back to your hand. So you don't never really lose whatever you sacrificed. He gives 7/5 counters. Basically makes something a 7/5. The counter itself does nothing, but it does make a creature modified, which is interesting. For the most part, this is my honorable mention because he's interesting. I feel like the colors don't really work with the character. But I don't know that much about this about Final Fantasy. I do know a bit about Sephiroth being one of the more popular characters in general. This is just my honorable mention. My first actual card of the set I'm very much interested is another Sephiroth. Sephiroth. It's 2 and a black for a legendary creature, human avatar soldier. When he enters or attacks, you sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. So that's Titan text. That's really strong for a 3-mana creature.
Yep.
So I haven't mentioned it's a 3/3, so it's already even on stats, and you get you technically go 1 for 1 because you lose a creature and gain a card, but you're not really 1 for 1. Then he has whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. If this is the 4th time this happens, transform him. And when he transforms, he has a 5/5 flyer with an ability that says, as this creature transforms into Sephiroth, One-Winged Angel, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. And whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. This is right up my alley. I'm not particularly interested in making this deck, but if I ever get my hands on a Sephiroth, I might actually do this because it does everything I like to do. One cool thing about this is that it's an emblem, and just if you manage to flip him again, if he dies and then you flip him again, you get another, and then another, and then another. And
so good.
Don't go away.
Really strong for standard, for sure. Like really, really powerful. There's a
very-
lot of value. It's easy to do. There's no reason why not to play it, and I think they made it purposely like that, so people would play it. It's an iconic character, and it's a really, I wouldn't say push card, but it's really strong for standard.
It's almost like really pushed. It's like borderline.
It's borderline, yeah. I would have like if this card came 5 years ago, definitely pushed.
No, you pushed, yeah.
But considering the state of like the power creep,
yeah. So the next card is Golbez, Crystal Collector. Blue and a black for a 1/4 legendary creature, human wizard. Whenever an artifact you control enters, surveil 1. The text can just end there, and it'll already be good.
Yep.
But it says at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Then, if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. So you put a big beefy creature in your graveyard, return it to your hand because you have 8 artifacts, and oh look, it's an 8/8. Everyone burn for 8. I really like this. Its main text, whenever an artifact you control enters surveil 1, that's what I'm actually interested in. I'm not interested, and honestly, I chose these cards because I like them. I like them a lot. This is actually the only card I want. Like I really, really want. Because I already have
convinced
ideas
with the rest of the cards.
No, not really. Not for me. They're just not for me, and that's okay. You just gotta accept that not everything's for you.
Yeah,
and just be okay with that. And the last card I'm interested in is Kefka Court Mage, 2 blue, black, and red for a 4/5 legendary creature, human wizard. When he enters or attacks, each player discards a card, then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way. Very, very disruptive, very, very strong. Then pay 8 mana, each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice, and you flip him.
Mhm.
Into Kefka, Ruler of Ruin, legendary creature Avatar Wizard, a flying 5/7, and whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards.
Which is insane.
It
Yep.
is crazy.
It is.
Do you think it's viable
crazy.
for standard or too slow?
Actually,
Okay,
Okay.
you're gonna get spicy.
it might be viable mostly because the ETB at minimum can net you 2 cards.
Yeah.
And if they don't kill it on attack, that's another 2 cards. So if you read it the way, if you read it like a better, there was a, I'm not sure if it was in, actually, I'm analyzing now. No, it won't see play. So there's a card exactly like this from
Yes.
Nuka Pena, but it
Yeah.
was 1 more mana. That when it attacked, I think, or entered or attacked, you draw 2 cards and discard 1 card. And this is discarding 1 card to hopefully, you discard an instant and your opponent discards a creature, then you draw 2 cards.
Mhm.
This is hopefully 2 cards, but in essence it's draw 2, discard 1. And that creature didn't see any play. So I'm not 100% convinced. No, I unconvinced myself. But for Commander, this card is crazy.
Oh, for Commander is insane because it's each opponent, right?
Yeah, each opponent.
Yeah, no, you're definitely gonna get way more value. Which we could. I mean, we already went this rabbit hole last time, but it's a standard card, right? That's usability is mostly in Commander.
But it's not completely directed at Commander.
Thankfully, yes, because you're gonna get some type of value out of it.
Yeah, you're always gonna get some type of value.
Yeah.
At minimum, you're drawing 1 card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's worth it for some decks. I'm not sure the current metagame can handle a deck this slow, because I think it'll be slow.
Yeah,
I've seen Omniscient stuff. It's crazy. So
the Omniscient stuff is insane right now.
Is insane.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's viable, considering the cost and whatever.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens. Are you looking for the #1 local game store here in Puerto Rico? I got it for you. It's called Titan Games. They are located in Caguas and in Rio Piedras. As well, they have their own website, titanhobbygames.com. There you guys can find your favorite TCGs and much more in their website. That's not all. Just pass by every week. There's an event and there's a lot of things you can do with Titan Games. All of their information are in the description below, so pass by and check them out. So now let's go ahead and move on to Ale's top 3. We're gonna go ahead and see his first honorable mention card that I've got to say, I think that Ale and me are in sync in regards to our favorite Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and check for his honorable mention, and there it is.
Let me see. Oh, yes. Summoner Sending. I want to preface by saying this is the first and probably only time, unless, there's a Batman secret lair that comes up eventually. This is going to be the one and only time that I'm not going to be talking about power level. I'm not going to be talking about viability. I'm literally going to talk about lore and how they implement the cards and the lore and the significance of the scene or the moment or whatever, the event, into a Magic card. This is strictly vibes. So starting with Summoner's Sending, it's an enchantment spell, colorless and a white that reads, at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. Put a 1/1 counter on it if the exile card's mana value is 4 or greater. So Summoner's Sending is a moment where Yuna is basically sending off the dead. She does it a couple times in the game. This might have been the moment where the evil Sin killed a bunch of people, and she's sending the souls up to the great beyond. So it's very flavorful, both because it's implementing the mechanic of Final Fantasy X, which is tokens. I mean, sorry, counters, 1-on-1 counters, or different types of counters that Magic has employed over the years. So exiling a creature from a graveyard, basically like sending off the spirit and then reanimating the spirit and putting 1-1 counters is very flavorful, both in terms of what the scene entails and based on the mechanic they introduce for Final Fantasy X and their characters. So that's my honorable mention.
Okay, and this is one of your top 3.
Yes. So now we go into Titus Yuna's Guardian. It is a green, a white, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, human warrior. He reads, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from a target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. And then there's Cheer. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. Do this only once each turn. Most of the cards, if not all of them, are going to be the commander cards from the Final Fantasy Counter Blitz deck. This one is very flavorful because of both of his abilities. One of them is basically he's playing Blitzball. He counters from one creature to another. He's passing basically a ball around. And then cheer is something that you do in Final Fantasy where you're cheering on your teammates. That's an actual ability. So you're basically boosting them. Boosting would be drawing cards and proliferating, so you're making them stronger for a next attack. A couple of these cards mechanics lie in attacking in order to either draw or proliferate or stuff like that. So it's very flavorful in terms of the mechanics of Final Fantasy, and specifically what these characters do in Final Fantasy X. So that's my second one. So my third one is interesting because I did not notice this card until like a few hours ago. This is the Sphere Grid. This is the mechanic they introduced for Final Fantasy X, where you don't scale sort of like other games where you just put like points into the character so they have better stats in whatever you want to put them in. This one functions a bit differently. You can technically, theoretically, although it's completely like super difficult to do, you can theoretically make all your characters have all the same move sets because they all function in a gigantic grid where all of the characters are placed in different areas of this gigantic grid. And when you gain points, these points unlock more grids. So you can have Titus he starts focusing on the stuff that he knows and what the character is supposed to be learning, but you can deviate to make him more of a mage or more of a thief or more of whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And you can make other characters kind of cross into what Titus is supposed to be doing exclusively. It's a very interesting mechanic. I don't know if other Final Fantasy games did this afterwards. I'm guessing not, because the whole reason why it's here, it's presumably because they never tried this mechanic again. I think it was very interesting because it breed endless possibilities for your characters. Sure, your characters have the same characteristics no matter what, but it's interesting that you can theoretically make your characters be anything you want in this game. It's also interesting because they're referencing a mechanic of the game instead of like a scene or a moment of the actual game, which is kind of like a meta aspect of this card, which is kind of interesting too. So Sphere Grid reads, it's a colorless and green, it's an enchantment too. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. Unlock ability. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters of them have reach and trample. It's interesting because both mechanics function as you would do in the game. So when you're dealing combat damage, you're gaining experience, hence why you get a 1/1 counter. And then when you have a 1/1 counter, you start unlocking abilities because now you have experience on your character. So again, very flavorful. Probably not viable at all, but I'm just saying it's like cool.
I don't know what you mean by not viable, because a 2-mana enchantment that gives both reach and trample in addition to pumping your team,
I guess it's true.
That sounds like a very good lord. Like,
yeah,
think of it that way. As an anthem effect, it is very strong.
Yeah, you're right.
It takes a bit more to establish. But what if you already have a way to put a +1 counter on each creature you control?
Yeah.
Immediately reach trample. That you could have lethal out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. And especially if you commit to like a deck that has proliferate or has hardened scales or stuff like that, which this deck actually, I believe it has hardened scales. You can go crazy real quick. It only requires 1/1 counter on it. You don't need multiple. So having basically 2 keywords on each of your creatures, it is kind of strong. You're right.
No, it is really strong. It is. Okay, here's your. I think this is your final card.
This is my final card. So now we have Yuna. Yuna has 2 cards, and both of them are pretty cool. But this one is like from the commander deck, and I think it's the more flavorful of the two. So Yuna Grand Summoner is a colorless, a green, a white, and a blue for a 1/5 legendary creature human cleric. She has 2 abilities. Grand Summon, Tapper. Add 1 mana of any color. When you next cast a creature spell this turn, that creature enters with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it. Whenever another permanent you control is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, if you had 1 or more counters on it, you may put that number of 1/1 counters on target creature. It's interesting because it works well with the sagas, because you're tapping it to create mana, so that saga is going to come in with 2/1 counters on it, plus like the saga counters. When the permanent you control dies, you can just move these counters somewhere else, which is the summoning, the summoning thing where you're
Yeah.
like doing the whole thing of like she's sending them to the great beyond, and then she's moving all those elements to someone else. What's interesting here is this one has potential for an infinite loop. You put freed of the whatever, I forgot. There's 2 enchantments.
Free from the real.
Free from the real. And likewise, there's another card that's similar to that one too, where you're basically just tapping to create a blue, and you untap her. Tap her to create a blue. And then what you're going to do is, you're going to do that an X amount of times. When you actually summon the creature, it's going to trigger that many times. So you're going to have a gigantic creature on the board, and if it has haste, although those colors makes it a little bit harder to have haste, but if you find a way to have haste, you can one-shot basically any opponent. It's really cool.
Walking Ballista.
True. You can just kill someone walking ballista. And I believe, and I think that Walking Ballista is in the deck too. Or I don't know if I'm mistaken or not.
I think Walking Ballista. I think it's in the. If I'm not mistaken,
the Final Fantasy VII deck.
I think it's Final Fantasy VII.
Well then you can just grab it and pluck it in this.
Or just buy a Walking Ballista. It's like for $10.
I know. It's not flavorful because it's not Final Fantasy X card, but this card is really, really strong, very easy to abuse. And yeah, like I said, I wasn't going to commit to like talking, because the thing is, in all honesty, I know there's cards that are very strong for standard. I know there's a bunch of broken cards for commander. There's so many broken mechanics, including there's combo lines in the same decks. They're like infinite loops.
Yeah.
So they really push all these cards, but I'm not like. It's because I like this franchise so much that I really like didn't hone in on cards that are like extremely powerful. I just like that they, as they usually do, they committed to trying to embrace either the mechanics or the lore behind it, which Magic has been very good at, and inject it into these cards to make sure they feel like the IP that you used to play with. Sadly, however, they don't do that with their IP anymore, but that's another story. So those are my 3 cards.
Those are Alice three cards. I am going to go ahead and look for my honorable mention.
Yep.
Hey, are you looking for premium playtest cards? I have you covered. Tolarianlibrary.com. Just pass by their website, check out all of the playtest cards that you might need for your commander deck, and use code CBCMTG to get 20% off your order. If you're looking for cards that you probably don't have a budget for, it's fine. Tolarian Library might have it, and you can get it for your future commander. But I just gotta say that I would do. My plans with these cards are the same thing. I do want to make 2 theme commander decks of the Final Fantasy games, like 10 and 7, that are my favorites. And then I do want to make like a Yuna commander that's only with the summons.
That'd be kind of cool. Like all the summons.
All the summons.
Yeah, of course.
All the summons. Even though it does not make sense. All the summons.
I like it. I like that idea. I like it.
And I think that this is the good thing about Universe Beyond is that you can go these 2 routes. You can either make a full theme deck, or you can make like your own like commander. Like for instance, like I do have Davros. Davros is from Doctor Who. It has certain cards that mix in from Doctor Who, but it has a lot of other cards that makes the commander way stronger. But one of my goals is that I've mentioned it many times here. One of my goals is to have all of the doctors in one commander.
You already have your commander for that. It's a 5-color commander, so you can do it.
Yeah, I can just look for SpongeBob.
Or isn't the 14th Doctor?
That's the one. Yeah. David Tennant times 2. It's the second time.
Yeah.
He's the one. He's the one you can make it with. So it is doable for sure. And
It is
you know
doable.
the funny thing about these IPs and what I've noticed is they all tank in price. Like there's an
Yeah.
initial hype, understandably so, and people who wanted to get it, they get it. But now all these doctors, they're so dirt cheap. Like the commander decks, some of them are more expensive based on
Ale,
what the
but
character is, but the individual cards are so cheap.
But didn't you remember that Doctor Who came out? I got all of the commanders because I
Of
love
course.
Doctor Who, so I got all the commanders. But one of my main goals is to have all of the showcases
Yeah.
foil, because I know that the Surge foil, just because it's Surge, is like more expensive. But I didn't
Mhm.
care about the Surge. I cared about foil. I think I got them all for under $50. The
Nice.
whole showcase
It's pretty good.
for under $50. All of the doctors, the TARDIS, and the additional cards as well, all of them for a very cheap price. So
Pretty good.
it was an amazing, it is what it is. The initial hype puts like the high price tag. Just wait. Same thing with Pokemon. We put an example, Journey Together. There was a major hype because of the Cynthia's Clefairy.
Mhm.
Everybody started going crazy. Boxes were expensive, and the set released, and then out of the blue, everything tanked.
Yep.
So it
Yep.
is what it is. So it's gonna happen with Final Fantasy as well,
Of
especially
course.
because it's a standard deck,
Oh, yeah.
standard format set.
And it's
So
gonna be running for 3 years. So
exactly.
Mhm.
So this is my honorable mention. Is Yuna Hope of Spira.
yeah.
It's 3 green and green white. Legendary creature human cleric is a 3/5. During your turn, Yuna and enchantment creatures you control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. At the beginning of your end step, return up to 1 target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finale counter on it. The reason why I love this is because this mix in so much with the theme deck of the summons that I want to make.
Yep.
Because this would be in the 99, not, it wouldn't be the main commander, but if I have this in game, every summon that had already passed, because it did all of the lore counters, it completed all of the lore counters, and it died, I can bring it back. Even though it has a finality counter, that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day it's going to complete the whole lore countdown once again. So
Yep.
But the fact that all of your enchantments that you have in play, enchantment creatures will have trample, lifelink, and ward 2, that's phenomenal. Not only
Mhm.
that, this card as well can mix in if you have like a Goshen Tai commander, being the fact that Goshen Tai has what spirits is it? Shrines. They have creature
Yep.
shrines. It mixes in so well as well. So you have additional protection to your creatures, and hey, you destroyed a shrine, yes, it will come back. And then you have 2 ways to bring enchantments back. You have Goshen Tai, and then you have Yuna as well to bring those enchantments back to play. Now, my first one, I think that this one was an obvious note, is Cloud EX Soldier. It's 2 red, green, and white legendary creature human soldier mercenary, has haste, is a 4/4. When Cloud enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to it. Whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each attacking creature you control. Then, if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. I love this because, being the fact that Cloud can be your main commander, throughout you reaching your 5 mana to be able to cast it, you might already have a couple of equipments probably in play, and Cloud will have power 7 when it lands on it lands it does its ETB trigger. So that's one of the reasons why I love the card, and as well it's part of like the theme of the Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 7 themes out in equipment very, very strongly. And it makes sense because in Final Fantasy 7, even though you do have your experience points and your level ups, the most important thing is your equipment. It basically in all Final Fantasies is important, but in Final Fantasy 7 is like way more important
Super
than
important. Yep.
it's super important, So it's one of my great cards that I love. And then this one, triple triad, 3 red enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. Each player exiles the top card of their library until end of turn. You may play that card you own exiled this way, and each other card exiled this way with lesser mana value than it without paying their mana cost. The reason why I love this card is the fact that I have in mind my Doctor Who commander, the War Doctor.
Yeah.
Just keep exiling cards and just keep getting those time counters to just one shot somebody by attacking.
It's interesting the caveat that it has that you're allowed to cast your own thing or each other cards from the opponents only if they're lesser mana value.
Yeah.
I wonder how they come to that conclusion. It is
I
6
think-
mana. It's very splashy. I don't know why they didn't just say like, oh, whatever, you can just cast whatever you want.
I think it's more because I think that this is much more based on the card game from Final Fantasy VIII.
Mm-hmm.
A very complicated card game. I remember the first time I played Final Fantasy VIII, your first summon that it's Ifrit. I lost it in the card game.
Oh, okay.
So if you lose your summon card on the card game, you don't have it no more. So I had to restart the whole game again.
Got it.
So I never understood the card game in Final Fantasy VIII. Probably if I sit down and play it again, probably I think I might understand it. But but I just love the fact that it's a card that you get to see everybody's. You get to exile a card from each of your opponents, and you have a way to probably removed a win condition. It's exiled, so that's one of the things that I like about it. For 6 mana, you get to see an additional card for yourself, and then you get to see everybody else's cards. So I think that's like the mindset that you have, the common Thaza Oracle GG win the game situation. If you get to see it in exiled from one of your opponents, you're like, okay, a 1 win con is out of their commander deck.
Okay.
So at least for me, it sounds interesting, and I think it will be a win-win situation. It's really high costed for 6 mana, but being the fact that it's commander, if it's like lower bracket, 6 mana is fine.
Okay,
at least in my thoughts. And then this next card is a very simple card. I like it, but it's better than the Ultima weapon. It's the Buster Sword.
That's fair.
So the Buster Sword, 3 colorless mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+2. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. And equip 2. Cloud is a 4/4. With Buster Sword is already 7. It's gonna be a 7/6.
Perfect.
So if you cast this turn 3, you cast Cloud, you equip it for free because of the ETB. You have Cloud is already 7 power, so you will be attacking, and you will be creating the two treasures, and you will be drawing 1 card from him, and then you will be drawing. If you do deal combat damage, you will be drawing from the Buster Sword as well. So you get 2 cards instead of 1, and again, the win-win situation here. These are my top
crazy.
3.
It's
It is kind of
card.
crazy. It's a crazy card. The fact that the Buster Sword can work in any equipment commander deck.
Yeah.
And as well, it is a good equipment. It probably somebody might find a way to use it in standard.
Yeah.
Depending on how the meta goes in standard, because if it turns out to be like, how do you call it, like mid tier, not mid tier, but late game standard,
Mhm.
where
Yep.
everything is like this can work. If it becomes like a late game standard meta,
Yeah.
but it sounds like it is a fun card, and I think that is going to be really interesting how the meta is going to turn out with the Final Fantasy set. Either way, if you think about it, I think we mentioned it in the episode before. The fact that Final Fantasy, the set, not the commander, not the commanders, the set per se, aims so high for commander play that I've read in many comments and different threads and chat groups and whatnot. People are calling Final Fantasy Commander Masters 2.
I agree. I feel like
know.
I don't agree, but also before we continue with that train of thought, I do want to mention
Yeah.
Sword. The Buster Sword is more busted than and people give it credit for, mostly
Yeah,
because Sword of Fire and Ice is considered the best sword for drawing you card and being able to deal 2 damage. But the second best sword is usually the Sword of Feast and Famine to untap your lands. The Buster Sword is basically both of them combined. You get to draw a card, but you don't get to deal the damage. And instead of untapping your lands and making your opponent discard a card, you just get to play the card.
Yeah.
I think that's like that merits something. So you say you need a more mid-rangey deck, but I think one good hit off of this is usually enough. I think, like consider like again that I mentioned the Omniscience is in standard.
Yeah,
There's a lot of there's a lot of like very very powerful things you can cheat in.
I agree.
Yeah.
I do know I mentioned Omniscience and that's 10 damage. Of course, that's not going to happen in one go. It could, but it's not going to happen in one go with the Buster Sword. But a +3/+2 is enough for most things.
I think with the Cloud that's in standard, the one that's basically a
tutor.
He's a tutor. He's basically Mystic Forge.
Yeah.
The Mystic Forge in standard. There's some extra hoops for it, but essentially you're going to get the Buster Sword. Yeah. So then when you're going to get a lot of value out of it, I think that it will accelerate the format because there's a bunch of like 1 and 2 drops that are going to be hitting, like Tifa and a bunch of the red cards. They're very low costed. I think they're going to make an impact. They're going to breed either a mono red or a Gruul deck. I think maybe the Cloud with the Buster Sword is possible only because he can tutor it. It's very viable to use it. It'll just depend how much people are willing to brew with these new cards. I'm not an expert, so I don't know. I know that for Commander, all these cards are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Even the bonus sheet and stuff. So
I completely agree. So, final thoughts, guys, of the set, and are you excited to get into the world of Final Fantasy?
I'm very excited, actually. Not for me. I like to be excited for my friends. A lot of my friends are very, very, very excited for this set. They try to convince me to play the Final Fantasy TCG, and it wasn't really for me. And this again isn't really for me. But they're so excited. I'm so happy for them.
Yay! I'm just excited because it's Final Fantasy. I want to get cards to make theme decks. I'm not so concerned. I mean, there's cards that I would like to stick in like normal decks. There's a bunch of really powerful cards that you could put in like actual like commander decks or whatever you want. For the most part, I just want to get like a bunch of. I want to get all the Final Fantasy X cards. I want to get all the Final Fantasy 1 cards. I want to get the Final Fantasy 11, the 14, all the games that I actually played. I want to get all those and just collect them. But yeah, like there's a bunch of push cards, especially in the commander decks that I know that we'll see play from now until whenever some other power creep comes in and ruins all these other cards. But yeah, it's a very hot set. I'm honestly a bit surprised that it is the best selling set, but considering the fact that they encompassed 16 games, I think it makes sense. Final Fantasy, it's not like Pokemon. Like if they made a Pokemon MTG crossover, it'd be like the hottest thing in the universe. But I guess because you're grabbing the attention of 16 different fan bases, like the very old school players that only play like the Super Nintendo games, or like the newer players that just play like the last 2 or 3 games. They've gotten like a wide range of people. They're very interested in this IP, so I think surprisingly it was a slam dunk. And unlike other IPs, maybe like a SpongeBob or whatever, this one seems fitting because it is fantasy. Final Fantasy, literally, it's in the name. It's fantasy based, and they do play with a lot of different genres. I do wish if there was something that could have been better in terms of like ensuring that you had like a better a wider range of all the archetypes and all the flavors these Final Fantasy games have. I know that, like, for example, Final Fantasy 12 isn't as beloved as other games, but Final Fantasy 12 is interesting because it's technically Star Wars and Final Fantasy. Even the bad guy, the judge guy, he's essentially Darth Vader. Like the kid, basically the kid that looks like Aladdin, he's supposed to be like a Luke Skywalker. He's supposed to be this kid who's whisked off into this like sci-fi adventure in a ship fighting all these Imperials and stuff like that. But I know it's not like a fan favorite. Like 13 is more beloved. 15 is way more beloved. You can see it based on the number of cards these other games got. But I wish it would have embraced a bit more. I'm not saying make a commander deck for each game because that would have been insanity. But maybe they'll make a sequel. Maybe if it's so successful, they'll realize we can definitely like pump out way more stuff with this. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm super hyped about it. I'm with Alan this one. I just want my Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 10. It would have been nice to see a couple of cards from Final Fantasy X2, maybe. But I know that it's not like the most favorable game of Final Fantasy X, but I'm super hyped about it. Crazy to see the cards, how do they work and whatnot. Let's see if we can get content for all of you guys. If we do get any type of allocation product from our sponsor, but either way, if we don't, we will find a way to give you guys at least a commander game. Playing the cards. So nothing. Let's go ahead to round table. JP, where can the people find you?
You can find me here talking about sweet cardboard. How about you, Orengo?
Talking about delicious cardboard, delicious and sweet cardboard, amazing cardboard. It's gonna be fun. I already finally pre-ordered my Commander Counter Blitz deck. It's gonna arrive in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Hopefully, it arrives faster than that. We'll see. But at least I got it. I got it locked in. So I'm hyped to get the deck, break it apart, put better standard Final Fantasy X cards into the deck, and make it still thematically accurate, but just with slightly stronger cards, so it's more viable. It already a very strong deck. Like I think most of those decks, even out of the box, are really pushed. They really push the boundaries of what they can do with those cards. But yeah, I'm just excited to play. I'm excited to play with these cards. So yeah, I'm hyped. What about you, John?
Well, you guys can find me here in the Cardboard Cave podcast as well at Reel In Films. But super hyped for the set and super excited to see what's coming your way, guys, in terms of content. So pay attention to all of our social media, and as well, just don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell like that you guys can get notified when either a podcast or an additional piece of content is out your way. So I think, guys, we will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Until I cut it, bala pa tu cabeza, para delicadeza, habla la realeza, salva naturaleza, method for your mentalities, kill them with no fatalities, happy with all the cannabis, welcome to your reality.